I've been wondering for years why millions of Americans look at Donald Trump and see themselves in him. Why are we able to see so clearly that Trump is a narcissistic, abusive, mediocre criminal, and his followers love him for it? So I decided to do some research on presidential symbolism to understand what's actually going on here. Donald Trump mocked a disabled reporter on camera in front of thousands of people. He attacked a Gold Star family on national television. He became the first convicted felon to get elected as President of the United States of America. Even all of that and the approval amongst his base did not move. Not after any of it. Presidents do not just change policy. They change who the country believes deserves power. When Barack Obama became president, he broke a barrier that should have been broken a century ago. Trump also broke a barrier, but it's not the flex you think it is. He opened a door to hate, racism, crimes, and bigotry. That door should have remained shut forever. And yet here we are. Where have we gone wrong? Here are the 5 psychological reasons Trump's base sees themselves in a narcissistic abuser like Trump. 1. The psychological wage of whiteness. For over 200 years, every American president was white. Every presidential inauguration confirmed the same assumption. The highest office in the country belonged to one racial group. In 1935, sociologist W.E.B. Du Bois studied why poor white workers in the American South sided with wealthy white landowners instead of with black workers who shared the same economic struggles as they did. He found that whiteness itself worked as a form of compensation. White workers were given access to public spaces, respect, and social standing that black workers were denied. Poor white people didn't make more money. They got more status from being white. Du Bois called this the psychological wage of whiteness. The public and psychological wage of whiteness is the unearned social status white Americans received simply for being white. It kept them loyal to racial hierarchy that did not serve their economic interests. They were still just as poor as their black and Hispanic neighbors, yet somehow they thought they were superior for just existing. Sounds like they wanted a participation award. The American presidency reinforced that wage every 4 years for over 2 centuries. Then in 2008, Barack Obama won the presidency. He shattered a symbolic barrier that had stood since the founding of the United States. His election told black Americans and other excluded groups that the presidency was no longer reserved for one race. The assumption that had been quietly reinforced for centuries was broken in a single night. A status payment people collected just for being white was gone. When that status floor breaks, people don't just quietly adjust. They backlash. Obama didn't just win an election. He took something they didn't even know they were depending on. They didn't earn it, but they thought that status was stolen when Obama got elected. And they've been trying to take that status back ever since. 2. Participation awards. Trump supporters do not just support him. They become him. They wear his clothes. They fly his flags on their trucks. They try and talk like him. They mimic his hand gestures. They adopt his insults as their own vocabulary. In the 1970s, psychologists Henry Teifel and John Turner studied how people build their sense of self through the group they belong to. They found that when a group member achieves a high status, other members of that group experience a boost in their own self-worth. The success of one becomes the validation of all. Teifel and Turner called this social identity theory, when the psychological process by which an individual's self-esteem rises or falls based on the status of the group they identify with. When the leader is just like you, his status becomes your status. His legitimacy becomes your legitimacy. His power becomes your power. You do not have to accomplish anything for yourself. You don't have to earn anything. Sound familiar? You just have to belong to his group, and his victories become your victories. Trump supporters do not admire him from a distance. They absorb his identity because it validates their own. They are exactly the same person Trump is, and they love the permission that gives them to be the toxic person they've always wanted to be in public. 3. Mass delusion. Trump supporters do not just love America. They need the world to admit America is superior. And when they feel that recognition is being withheld, they respond with hostility, resentment, and aggression. In the early 2000s, psychologist Golok de Zavala studied people whose attachment to their group is driven not by pride, but by a deep insecurity that their group's greatness is not being recognized. These individuals do not love their country. They need constant external validation that their country is the best. And when they don't get admiration for their country, they lash out. Golok de Zavala called this collective narcissism. The belief that your group is exceptional combined with the feeling that the rest of the world refuses to acknowledge it. Basically, we are the best. Now recognize we are the best, or else. Normal people watch someone humiliate another person in public and feel it's wrong. They see cruelty and they know it's wrong. But people who carry high narcissistic traits see something different. They see someone getting away with it. They see someone being rewarded for the same behavior that has cost them relationships, jobs, and the respect of the people around them in their own personal lives. And they feel validated from their president who is just like them. Trump did not attract his base despite the cruelty. He attracted them because of the cruelty. His supporters are not loyal because he's good. They're loyal because he proves you don't have to be good or kind to be president. Just like the psychological wage of whiteness was broken because Obama got elected. Trump validated a lot of losers in this country. Him being president showed that it was okay for his followers to be cruel and a bully in public. That you can be a narcissistic, horrible person to people and somehow that's okay. They are wrong. 4. Conspiracy theorists. Anti-vaxxers, false flag believers, QAnon followers, moon landing deniers, Bigfoot hunters, flat earthers, people who reject basic verifiable facts. Before Trump, these people were cagey groups who kept to themselves. Basically, your crazy boomer uncle at Thanksgiving. Society had a word for these people: fringe. They were not taken seriously. They were not given platforms. They were not treated as credible voices in any room that mattered. In the 1990s, political scientists Joseph Osinski and Joseph Parent studied why certain populations are drawn to conspiracy theories. They found that conspiratorial thinking is not about intelligence. It's about powerlessness. People who felt excluded from institutions, dismissed by experts, and left behind by the culture are far more likely to reject mainstream knowledge entirely and replace it with the narrative that casts themselves as the ones who truly understand what is going on. They call this conspiracy theory psyche, the psychological tendency of people who feel powerless and excluded, who then reject expert knowledge and adopt conspiratorial narratives that restore a sense of control and superiority. Trump did not tolerate conspiracy thinking. He validated that thinking from the most powerful office on earth. He amplified fringe theories on national television. He told people who rejected medical science that they were right to be suspicious. He told people who distrusted every institution that their distrust was justified. He made ignorance feel like insight. Before Trump, these people were called fringe. Now you'd think they run the country. Anti-intellectualism is alive and well in America under Donald Trump. 5. The narcissist next door. Trump's base is not made up of people who are excluded from power by centuries of structural oppression. It's made up of bullies, abusers, people convicted of crimes, people who treat people around them like garbage and resent being told to stop. People who have spent their entire lives being told the way they act is not acceptable, that they are adults. In 2016, psychologist Josh Miller at the University of Georgia studied the relationship between grandiose narcissism and political preferences. He found that individuals who score high on narcissistic traits are significantly more drawn to leaders who display dominance, self-promotion, and contempt for norms. The connection is not ideological, it's psychological. Narcissistic people are attracted to leaders who mirror their own traits because those leaders validate the way these people move through the world, how they act personally. They called this narcissistic admiration and rivalry, the tendency of people with high narcissistic traits to seek out and attach to leaders who exhibit the same grandiose, domineering, and norm-violating behavior they use themselves. Trump proved that you can be a racist, hate-filled person and still hold the highest office in the land, that you can break the law and still get elected. You can be a mean, cruel bully who abuses people around you and still get elected. You can reject science, spread conspiracy theories, and mock the disabled and still get elected. You can be all of those at the same time, in public, on camera, and still get elected. This is not a message that appeals to normal people. This is a message that appeals to narcissistic, mediocre people. If you watch this and recognize every one of these patterns in someone else, you are not the problem. You see Trump's base for what it is. Broken people who found a broken leader and then called it strength. Now, if you watched this and it made you angry, if one of these things I was talking about felt like a personal attack, you are the problem. Normal people do not see themselves in an abuser. Normal people do not celebrate cruelty. Normal people do not feel validated when a convicted felon holds the highest office in the country. Obama broke a barrier that should have been broken centuries ago. Trump broke a barrier that should have never been broken. And the people who celebrated Trump's behavior in the last 10 years were never good, kind people. So stop saying they were. They are broken, narcissistic people, and they've always been this way.